are ready to have another webinar related to this fantastic book, The Secrets to Increasing Your Power, Wealth, and Happiness, wrote by Alan Walters. So my name is Raul Rivera, and on behalf of the Advanced Coaching and Leadership Center, I just want to say thank you so much for connecting with us today. Thank you so much for creating the space and the time to just get better and release some life force particles. So thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, Camilo, as well. It's always a pleasure to have you here. And thank you for all the work you do just with the platforms and everything that you're running so that we can have these spaces. And also hello to our Facebook friends, because we are also transmitting from Facebook as well. So if you want to join, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And if you want to join directly the Zoom, probably Camilo can share that link as well. I can see Juan Carlos joining. So awesome. So it's going to be a great chapter. It's chapter 18. So it's a very, very positive chapter. I would say probably one of the most important chapters in the whole book, this chapter 18, as it deals with all the phenomena and all the indicators and manifestations that happen when you release life force particles. So that's quite important to know, but also to be aware when that's happening. So before we begin, I would like to hear from you. Any wins, any learnings, or any insights that you had just by reading that chapter 18? That'd be awesome. As you know, just to start with some wins. If you want to share, you can just unmute yourself, or you can just wave at us so that we can know. And let's start with something positive. Any wins, any learnings, or any insights just connected to this chapter 18? And if you want to share, just let us know. So who had some wins or realizations just by reading the chapter? And let's do something, Camilo. Any insights that you had or anything you'd like to share connected to that chapter before we begin? And if so, just let us hear from you. And I think you're mute, Camilo.
Okay, yes, yeah, I was checking here in Facebook also, like the different people. So yes, it's really a very positive chapter. It's like we went through the hard zones for putting a name on them, and now it's the green zone. So everything looks much better from that point of view. So yes, I really like how Alan put this in a list, because you can just figure out, okay, this is an indicator of the green zone, so I'm really connected with that in a specific area, and I really start using it. So yes, that's what comes to view with the chapter.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, thank you, Camilo. And I think that's really, really useful to have those indicators. It's 20 indicators that will show when somebody is actually occupying the green zone. Because the more aware you are that the green zone exists, then the easier it is to occupy or to operate from that zone. But that's, all those indicators. I remember one time I was watching this lecture from Alan, and then he was describing, I don't remember exactly the topic that he was lecturing on, but one thing that I do remember about that lecture is that he said that writing that list of 20 manifestations of the green zone was by far the most important document or the most important bulletin that he ever wrote in his life. Because a lot of the work that he did, it was research, right? So he was trying to, find what's truth, what's not, what works, what doesn't work. So it took, he spent more than 50 years doing that research, but he was referring to those, those 20 indicators that you have in there as the most important piece of knowledge, as the most important document that he ever wrote, just because with those, he was able to stay, within the areas and actually with the green sun truth phenomena. So that's quite important. A good exercise that you could do related to those manifestations is just really go one by one and try to remember the times that you had that. Like any times that you can remember, like, you know, with a high mood level or with this appetite for knowledge and or past enmities resolving. I mean, there's like 20 different things in there, but that's really a great exercise. Just going one by one. So when have I had that? You know, when have I experienced this one by one? And just doing that, I mean, it's very simple exercise, but just doing that, it really releases a lot of life force particles. Oh, David, you're in the call. Welcome. It's great to have you here. So yeah, so let's hear from you. Anything you'd like to share connected to the chapter? Anything you like? Yes, Paul.
I'm reminded of the course that you all have once a month, the Zones for Life. And as you know, people who have taken it, and certainly Camilla and Raul, you know, that part of that is you have a discussion about the green zones, and it's suggested that you, every day that you go over and read that description of in the green zone, that in itself is a technique. I know when I'm reading the Secrets book, it's a little, even though I value the information about the red and yellow zones, it's a little hard sometimes because I don't really want to focus on that so much. It's educational, but I kind of have to sort of just force myself to focus on that. Whereas for the green zones, it's much more inspiring, and again, it's a technique just to put your attention on that. And to me, it's, I mean, some people might say, oh, if that's like pretending, creating a mood in this. It's that, well, it's not so much that. It's you can put your attention on what you want, and you can put your attention on the negative aspects, or put your attention of the positive aspect, or just putting your attention on that, not making it up. So that's very valuable, is putting your attention on that aspect. And putting your attention to the green zone is, next to the gold zone, the best you can do.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Paul. And I love what you said, because yes, I've heard that sometimes, especially when people connect, to this the first time. I mean, people would think that it's, oh, okay, it's a green zone, so just happy or pretend or fake, but it's not that exactly as you're describing, Paul, because just here in the chapter, he says to unlock and release and recover life force particles requires truth. This then runs out all the past incorrect or wrong times and places and releases energy. So in one word, when we're talking about the green zone, we're talking about truth. I mean, that's really it, right? I mean, the truth will set you free. That's really what the green zone is all about. Now, let me just share this. I think that this is going to be interesting, but that's a basic definition, right? Alan has a more expanded definition, but I took this one just because it's basic, it's simple. But if we really want to occupy or operate from the green zone, we're really talking about truth. Now, what's that, right? So it's a precise duplication. It's precise duplication of pretty much anything or anyone, right? Places, things, subjects, times, locations, shapes, actions, reasons, happenings, moods, intentions, games. I mean, we can just continue, with this list, which is infinite, but truth is precise duplication. And Alan gives a great example, like in golf. And he basically said that all the games that we play in life, business, relationships, sports, any game we play in life, it's actually a gradient of truth. And the closer you are to the truth, the more likely it is you are going to win in that game. And he has a great example like golf, right? Like if you have the ability, I've never seen this, I don't even know if somebody has done it, right? But if you had the ability to, hit 18 shots and have the ability to put all of those in just in the hole, like one hole, so put every single time the ball in the hole. That's, I mean, like perfect duplication, right? Win. And obviously, I'm not really like a golf fan. I don't know if that's ever happened. I've seen people doing probably once or twice, but not 18, right? But that would be like perfect duplication in the golf, in the game of golf. So therefore, that person, the person that is closer to that level of truth or ability will win, right? But that's, I mean, that's something that happens in anything, any game that we are playing. But when we're talking about green zone, we're talking about truth, and truth releases that energy, releases those life force particles. And with more life force particles available, then it's easier, right? To be at the right place at the right time with the right people, doing things right, getting the results you want. It's about truth, right? I mean, it's also not that complicated. It's a great point, Paul. That's such a great point. So, all right. So, and anyone else? Anything you like from this chapter from the list? Yes, Alexi.
Yeah, I also I zeroed in specifically on that sentence Raul. I love the whole chapter. It's great, and the list of things are great, and it's very uplifting and inspiring to read them. But also, I feel like in any kind of like anything in the sort of the self-help kind of realm, I think that there can be a risk sometimes of getting separated from the notion like of truth, because you talk a lot about like, oh, like what's your like your experience or like your personal truth or things like that. And I really appreciate with Alan that as much as we talk about like with the processing, obviously as a processor, you don't want to put your perception on the other person, like that's not what you're doing. But nevertheless, there is truth with a big T, that there's that this philosophy makes room for. It isn't just, oh, it's entirely relative, you know, there's no like, no, it's like it's specifically grounded in there being truth, and that is literally what the green zone phenomena is. So I found that to be very inspiring and insightful.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alexi. And that's I mean, that's phenomenal. Because, and actually when I was taking this piece of this definition, the next sentence that Alan had in there, he was in this definition, he was saying the truth is what the truth is, not what you want it to be. The truth is what the truth is, not what you wanted it to be. Because yeah, I mean, sometimes we kind of rationalize or get defensive, especially when we're actually out of it. But there's that truth, and it has to do with precise duplication. Like if I start saying that something that happened didn't happen, I mean, that's not going to alter the truth. I mean, it happened, right? But it's going to trap some attention. In my case, it's going to trap some life force particles. If I keep saying that I did this because this intention that sounds really good, but that's not really what my intention is. Only me knows what that intention is, right? But the truth is what the truth is, and sometimes it's not what we want that to be. But even with that, you can judge it by those indicators, because then you can go back to chapter 17, right? Which is basically the indicators of you trapping some life force particles or going down to the yellow zone, or actually, if you keep going that route, you can end up in the red zone with not a lot of life force particles. So it is important. I mean, this is a game of truth. So beautiful. Thank you so much, Alexi. That's awesome. All right. So anybody else? Anything else you like from the chapter, from this list, from Green Zone? Yes, Juan Carlos. Let's hear from you. It's great to see you, by the way.
Yes, likewise. Thank you. I just would like to say that awareness is key, because if we are not aware then forget about truth or not. If we perceive something different, that's it. And sometimes, as it's as important as notice, I think, or detect when your mood level goes down, but it's very important too to notice when you are going up or when you are experiencing one of these things, and acknowledge that, and then get it and grasp it and say, this is mine, and this happened because of a reason. It's not luck. And why and what happened, so you can do it again and continue. And we don't need to wait to have all of them at the same time. No, just taking one or two, and then from there you can expand. But like being aware, I think is key. Not distracted.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Juan Carlos. Yes. And because I mean, what key piece? It's also, I mean, awareness, and then also perception, right? Your ability to perceive correctly. And Alan also mentioned many times, I mean, if I'm being dishonest or if I'm lying, obviously there's a lot of consequences, connected to that, But the first one is it's going to alter my perception. Lying or being dishonest activates something that Alan calls selective perception. So then I stop seeing or perceiving what truly is in front of me, and I see something else. But why? Well, because I started, with that dishonesty or with that lie, right? Or just being false. So that obviously has many different consequences, but it alters our perception. It activates selective perception. And then if you perceive something, like if I say that this is a iPhone, well, I could be like really fixed, and this is an iPhone, guys. Well, it's not an iPhone, but but I'm there. So that's really what happened, right? Sometimes I'm just that trapped in lies or falseness. Then perception doesn't work. Then I can duplicate things, and then life is harder. Life is more difficult. It takes more effort in relationships or more effort in business. So the basic principle here is just be true to yourself. Be true to yourself, and that will always allow you to release a bunch of life force particles and actually stay right in that green sun state. So thank you so much, Juan Carlos. That's such a great point. And something we're going to do, Camilo is going to take over the call, and he's going to share a little bit more about this chapter. Just take any other wins or any other feedback that you would like to share with us. I need to go into a session in a couple minutes. So Camilo is going to take care of the final part here. But before I go, I just really want to say thank you so much for connecting today. Thank you so much for creating this space and the time just to read this chapter. And also, if you have the time, just do that piece that I recommended you at the beginning. Just go one by one of those indicators, 20. Just try to remember, the different times and the different moments in your life that you have had those. Because just doing that is really, really, really powerful, and you're going to release a lot of life force particles. So thank you so much, everybody. So Camilo, let's go with you.
Thank you very much, Raul. Have a great session. Good luck. Nice. So, okay, we are ending the webinar, but before we finish, I would really like to know if you have any other comments that you want to make about the chapter, and if no, any wins that you have during this session. Okay, Paul, please. Yes, thank you.
One of the points that Juan Carlo made about luck Alan Walter also talks about luck, even in this chapter, and then he says how people get luckier. And every time I hear that, I think, I don't think even Alan believes that. He says he uses that word, but if you look up that word, it means by chance. It doesn't just mean good or something favorable. It means by chance. And I don't think he believes that for a second. But I think he's using it from the standpoint is that many people might think that's what's happening. They feel like they're getting luckier. But I'm reminded, as I've expressed before, I've resonated a lot with the Vedic tradition, and there's a expression in the Vedic tradition that the means gather around purity. And to me, in relation to this chapter and the green zone and such, it's not just a matter of you're operating from a higher level of truth. You're realizing more and more who you actually are. You're expanding your being. And as you become more and more that expanded being, then it's a matter of purity. You're becoming more pure, becoming more of who you actually are. And in the Greek tradition is know thyself. And as you know thyself, you are now aligned with nature, with God's will. And so that purity, the means gather around that. That's perceived as luck, but there's no coincidences, there's no luck. It's a matter of just being more in touch with your full nature.
Thank you, Paul. That's a great point. Yes, these indicators, normally they come as you get more knowledge in a specific area. So these are not by chance. They will look like chance maybe to others, but if you are really in the green zone, it's like you know why you are there and how to stay there and how to keep growing those indicators. So you get more and more of these 20 different things that are in the chapter. So thank you, Paul, for sharing that. And yes, and maybe you have noticed now, like Alan, like has his own definitions also, like he expand of those, and he also has a definition for luck, which I don't have memorized, but I know that it's more than chance for him. So good that you bring that into view. So thank you, Paul, for sharing. Anyone else want to share a win or something else about the chapter? Okay, Terry, please.
I have an experience recently that I was realizing it was a truth that came to me, that I was carrying a very defeatist attitude about much of what I was doing. And so I finally started looking at the idea of truth a little bit more. And here's an example of what happened the other day. We were raising a guide dog puppy to be donated back to the school after about a year. And it takes a lot of work and progress, to get this dog to sort of do certain behaviors. And I had a lot of excuses why this dog wasn't actually participating and making success. And then there was an embarrassing moment where we had her at a shopping mall, and I realized my truth was I wasn't spending enough one-on-one time with her. And so for the last few days, I've really given her a lot of one-on-one, and it's just changed the whole experience. So really, it was me not facing my own truth, that I wasn't putting the work in. And it's just changed her, and it's changed my belief that I was living something that wasn't the truth. And it results in blame sometimes.
Thank you very much, Terry, for sharing. Yeah, that's a great point that you are bringing. It's connected to also to, okay, how much presence are you putting into the different things, areas of your life? Because the more presence you have in an area, the more knowledge, and also the better you're able to perceive what is really going on in the area. So you put some honesty there, more attention, and you start getting the results that you wanted from that experience. So that's amazing how you connect that with the chapter theme of today. So great. Anyone else wants to share a win before we end the session? Let me just put here the gallery. Alexi, please. Yes.
I was just gonna say I was reading Gods in Disguise the other day, and in it, Alan talks a lot about agreements as versus realities, and or actually not as versus realities, like truth, reality, agreement. It talks a lot about that, and I was just kind of thinking during the call that that this is a, just talking through all these things, and it's kind of a great, very positive, truthful agreement that then we're all going to, carry into the rest of our day, and that's a win.
Thank you very much for sharing, Alexi. Yes, that's how agreements become reality. So that's so great. That's what we are creating here. So thank you very much, Alexi, for noticing that. Great. Okay, so I also want to share, we have an event tomorrow. For those of you that have been in there, is the Sons of Life event. We are doing this event two times per month. So if you want to connect, practice presence, also get to know the definition of the green zone, and we also do a 7-day challenge, the 7 days presence challenge related to this event. So we have a follow-up 7 days after the event in order to see your wins and what happened during your practice of presence. So if you want to attend, it's going to be tomorrow at 10 a.m. US Central Time. I'm just leaving the link on the chat if you just want to join and practice with us. We are going to be practicing presence for the first part of the event, almost 2 hours. Then we are going to read the definition of the green zone, and the last part is going to be a process how to be in the green zone. So that's my invitation for today. Before we end, we have still 3 minutes. If you want to share the last win or the last 2 wins, is your moment. If not, we just can finish the webinar and see you next Thursday. So anyone else want to share a win, or we just finish? Okay, I think we are getting to an end. So that's great. Thank you very much for attending the webinar, for seeing you here, for having an agreement of being in the green zone. And let's see each other next Thursday for the next chapter, chapter number 19. So have a great rest of the day. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See y'all later.
Bye. Thank you.